think our fabulous speaker needs an introduction. Everyone seems to know and love her. But Jane Deuber is CEO and founder of 7 successful businesses, best-selling author, business coach, and philanthropist. She was also the 1995 PWN Woman of the Year, 2001 PW President, and served for 9 years on our board of directors. Over the past 34 years, Jane has not only started and grown 7 successful businesses of her own, she has helped tens of thousands of entrepreneurs transform their experience in business to one that is more profitable, highly leveraged, and deeply fulfilling. Her most recent startup, Smart Biz Quiz, is revolutionizing the way coaches, trainers, speakers, and consultants attract, engage, and enroll their ideal clients by tapping into the power of online assessments. Through her businesses, Jane and her team are on a mission to help expert entrepreneurs create highly leveraged business that enable them to increase their impact and their income while living the life they desire. Ladies, Jane Deuber.
Yay! Oh my gosh. So first of all, I just want to say tons of gratitude. Gay, it was so cute because I got a voicemail on my phone, you guys, and it was inviting me to the speaker for this week. Does she know that it's me? And then yes. She said, I know, Jane. I know it's you. I just wanted to let you know. So Gay, thank you so much. You do so much for this organization. So tons of love and appreciation. So yeah, I'm just so grateful to be here. I look at this like beautiful montage of beautiful faces, and I mean, some of you, Heidi, I think you and I go back the longest. Maybe I think I know you longer than I know my husband, so 35 or 36 years, and the rest of you in between. And I'm just so grateful because you know this organization has a very dear place in my heart. You guys heard the intro. I've had Mario and I, my husband of 34 years, we've had 7 business startups. And I would say 3 of those businesses were, nurtured and uplifted through this organization. That's how powerful this group is. So for those of you who are just in your early stages, we've had a bit of a different kind of funky year where we're doing virtual and now we're trying to figure out how to be in person, but don't give up because I know it said that I served for 9 years on the board, and the first board position I opted up for was membership because I knew that I would have an opportunity to connect with as many people as possible. So, I just encourage you all to just 100% all in. I don't think I would have had the business success that we had I not had this organization. So tons of love. A lot of you are a big part of that. So, hey, I did do a little bit of a chat. So whoever's running this show, can I do a little bit of a screen share? Okay, Jody, yes. Okay, awesome. So here's what I want to say. So titles are so interesting when I come on a call, whether it's a podcast or a training, titles are interesting because we do it to draw you in, but then there's a bigger picture behind that. And so we talked about I'm going to talk about the next evolution in sales and marketing, like snoozer. It sounds a little boring. And so I want to put this in perspective for you. And then I have a couple slides, and then I'm going to have you guys do something. And I really want this to be interactive. I want us to talk about where we are in our mastering the sales and marketing journey. Because here's what I'll tell you. From 34 years in business, 7 startups, we're now getting ready to launch sort of our 8th. I'll tell you a little bit about that. There's nothing more important than you mastering the sales and marketing process. Seriously, this, you'll see, I kind of have a couple little slides that I want to go over, then we're going to jump over. But I want to say that, there's a lot of noise in the marketplace, especially if you're a new entrepreneur. We have people in the parenting world, health and wellness, insurance, everybody has their own genius. And no matter what realm you're playing in, you have to understand how to attract, engage, and enroll those ideal clients. And I would say that's one of my superpowers. It's one of the places that I have, so I call it my business mojo. And so my intention is for you to come away from this little bit of time that I have with you, for you to come away, first and foremost, I want you to be inspired, but I also want you to go away with some actionable things that you can put into place tomorrow. Okay, so here we are. We're going to dive right in. Just a couple different, I'll go back to slide 1 here. It's not a whole lot of slides because sometimes slides can be boring, but so here we go. Next evolution of marketing. So what we really get down to is how to create meaningful connections, because sales has this sort of funky energy around it. And sometimes for some people, they can have resistance to marketing and sales. But really what this is about creating meaningful connections. And then being able to move a person through a process, whether we're selling Super Spotter or coaching for parents, we want to be able to have a way that we just effortlessly, from the heart, move people into the right product or program that's right for them. So what we're going to talk about, first of all, I want to really bring your attention to what I believe is missing from today's approach to sales and marketing. And what's interesting is with the pandemic, when we're all online and we were pretty much all in front of a Zoom camera for much of our days, things have changed, and we're now, the market is requiring something different that was not required prior to this. I want to talk about what prospects are wanting. So when I use the word prospects, it's what your ideal clients are aching for. And this is something that you can provide that your competitors can't, because most of the people, no matter what niche you're in, most people are focused on the end goal of the sales. And what we know now is there's a way for you to set yourself apart from other people in your space that makes you more desirable, creates that connection that actually leads to a sale. I'm also going to touch a little bit on how to create these meaningful connections in a virtual world. And what's so crazy is I'm going to share a tool that I have 2 technology companies, which we'll learn about, but one of the technology companies is an assessment tool. And this is a tool that we had in place 5 years ago. And what's interesting is, I think as we're, in this world where we're all locked down and in our own world, people were trying to find of how do I create connection virtually? And what's so fun and cool, and I'm grateful to God for that, is that we've actually been doing that for 5 years. And so it just kind of went on steroids this last year. And I want to kind of share, no matter where you are in your business, how you can optimize that. And then the last thing is how to position yourself as an expert in your niche. And we'll talk about the subliminal things that you can do in the marketing process, or in this world. With knowing where you guys are in your business, I almost kind of want to insert the word courting clients versus marketing to clients, because I love the whole concept of courting. Like when somebody comes into my list, I see it as an opportunity for me to court them. And if you think about in the old school, what is courtship about? Courtship is about creating connection and being kind and revealing a little bit of yourself so the other person sees, is this a match? And so when I think of marketing, I think of courting. And so we'll talk a little bit about how you can do that more uniquely. So the goal here is to take your marketing, no matter what you're offering, no matter what niche you're in. The goal here is to have you walk away with a new construct of how you can do it differently so that you set yourself apart. A little bit about me. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but here's my lovely husband. Many of you know Mario. We've been married for 34, 35. We actually got long story, but yes, 35 years. And here's the cool thing. It's not that I've started and grown 7 businesses. We sold 3 of them. That's those achievements don't even compare to the fact that Mario and I are still in love after building 7 businesses together. Can I get an amen on that one?
Amen.
Yeah, we really enjoy each other's company and we're still building businesses. And it's been a beautiful journey. And I will say, one of the things I was interviewed for a book on marriage, partners in business. I was interviewed for a podcast on married couples having businesses together. And I said, actually, it's perfect because, divorce with businesses is too messy. So it just made us work at it. We had to work at whatever was happening for us. So tons of love. He's the love of my life, and many of you know him. And if you want to give a shout out to Mario in the chat, that's good. So here's a recent picture for some of you who know. So this is actually my grandkids. So the guy on the left there is my 24-year-old son. My son-in-law is in the back with the hat. This is my daughter who I raised since she was 6, and these are her 4 babies. So this is the reason we do everything, right? Because it's all about family. And what's so cool is this guy here, Alex, my 24-year-old son, he never saw his mom and dad go off to a job. So this is a kid that grew up in an environment where you just, you take an idea and you turn it into a business. And that's where I really want to honor everybody here on the call, because whether you're working for a real estate agency, a broker, or you're in it, as a coach or consultant, there's something magical about the power of entrepreneurship. And it allows you to find something within yourself that you didn't know that you had. And so, it's been a beautiful journey. And so I have this picture here. This is just taken on our family reunion. Alex he graduated with a degree in entrepreneurship from LMU. And the reason I'm bringing him up is, so we have these technology companies. And I went in this place, I went on a sabbatical after my mom passed away. Long story short, I was kind of in a place where I was kind of complacent. Mario and I are good. I didn't need to be pushing so hard anymore. And then in January, Alex comes to his dad and I and says, "Mom, you're sitting on a gold mine. You have this technology company, this assessment company. You guys are, it's growing on its own, but you've not really given your time and attention to it." Yeah, duh. How about your son calling you on your stuff? So he said, "I want to come in." And so the tool that I'm going to introduce you to tonight, and the strategy that I want to impart for you, it's really, I've gotten this whole new sense of excitement and intention because Alex has come in. He's created the entire brand. We did a whole 3.0 version of the software. So I guess it's to say, we're going to talk about business, and we're going to talk about sales, and we're going to talk about marketing. And really, the only way that I have the life that I have is because early on, back in 1987 with the first business, I committed myself to learn about how to master sales and marketing. And because I mastered that, no matter what business we built, or I had this crazy ass idea that I wanted to start a business, no matter what, I was able to understand how to find my ideal clients and move them into the right product or program. And that's what I want you guys to get tonight. So, yay, give me some love in the chat. I'm used to having it more interactive, but y'all get it. Y'all get it, right? Which is, why sales and marketing matters. Your ability to create revenues on demand. And I should have put underscore on that. When you become an entrepreneur, or whether even if you're employed by another company, your livelihood is based on your ability to create revenues on demand, or to find a client whenever you want to find a client. That is not just financial success, but it's the fulfillment. And so part of what I love to do, and where I'm kind of stepping into, I kind of got away from it a little bit because we were working with people to build their online programs. But what I'm loving is learning, loving sales, absolutely loving the process of sales and marketing. It gives you all the freedom that you're looking for. Because if you get up on a Monday and you've got a bill that you didn't expect, or you have a dream and you want to purchase something, whether it's a house or a car or a vacation, if you have mastered sales and marketing, you have the ability to create revenue on demand. So here's the challenge. What's missing right now in sales and marketing, because we've all gone so virtual, is this. We as human beings, and I challenge anybody here today, to say this is not important to you, but what I know is individuals have an innate need and a desire to feel seen, heard, and understood, right? Raise your hand if that's important to you in any kind of sales process, right? So here's the challenge. How do we do that in a virtual space? How do we allow someone to feel seen, heard, and understood? And so that was really, so 5 years ago, that was one of the challenges for me. I was speaking and traveling and doing all sorts of things. We had a consulting company and I had a mastermind and all the bells and whistles, and I had a list of 10,000 people and I didn't have any idea who was at the other end of the email. It drove me crazy. Like it kept me up at night. Like we all have those things that keep us up at night. And I wanted to know, like, who are you? Where are you on your path? Are you new? Are you advanced? What are your challenges? What are your, what's keeping you up at night? And so I took a tool we were using in our e-learning system, which is an assessment-based, and I created a tool that we used in our marketing process 5 years ago that fueled really hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. Really what it did is it gave me a tool to understand who was at the other end of the email. So pause for a second. Not everybody is working with an email list on this training. That's cool. This is the same thing if you meet someone at a Starbucks or you go to your kid's softball game and you meet someone. There is an evolution of the sales process. I call it sales acceleration. And understanding the psychology behind what's happening at each of those stages is absolutely essential. So here's the deal. Like sales, I think people make sales more complicated than it needs to be. But there's basically 4 stages. The first one is attract. This is where, so if you're at your kid's softball game, this is where you show up powerfully. You're engaged. You know how to create a connection. Or online, it's where you have a presence, whether you're speaking or maybe you're on Facebook and you post a comment. Attract is where people go, like we have somebody here who's working with parents, right? So in the attract stage, you do something, whether it's online or locally or one-on-one, where someone says, that's interesting. I wonder what that's about, right? So it's creating that curiosity. That's the first stage. The next stage is engage. So that's where we take the next step and we draw them in. And it might be a conversation that we engage in one-on-one. In the online presence, it's an invitation. We call it sometimes a call to action. So it might be that I offer up a free gift of some sorts. I'm going to actually share one that you guys can access for me, which is the 7 sales acceleration secrets, which is 7 ways that you can attract, engage, and enroll your ideal client. So engage is where we start to understand who they are. We start to engage in some sort of interaction. What's different, if you've ever done sales training, they typically go to attract, engage, and then they skip over to enroll. In our world, we add a step called select. And where this comes out of, I just did a blog on this for our launch, but I had a beautiful salesperson. Her name was Jackie McConnell. Some of you actually may even remember her. But I remember she was doing our sales calls for us, and she was getting on the calls and having conversations and giving her heart and her soul to people who, number one, they weren't ready for what we had, or number 2, they were not even willing to invest. And so why the third stage of the sales process is so important is probably many of you have been spending time with people who just aren't ready. And so the question is, how do you know? Who do you give your time to? Who do you hop on a call with? Who do you go to coffee with? And so select is really, I think, important now because our exposure has increased, but we haven't gotten up until now a way to really understand who you want to give your time to. And the last is enroll, right? So that's where we get to have the conversation. Most of you are selling one-on-one or through phone. And so enroll that's where we get to say, okay, is this a right fit? Do I have a need? Do you have a need that I can meet? And if so, here's how I can fill that need. We're all good? So there's 4 stages. Awesome. So this is what we call the sales acceleration quiz. And here's why this is important. What I know about anything, whether it's parenting, health and wellness, relationship, you can't make changes until you understand exactly where you are. So where are the areas that you're knocking it out of the park in terms of sales and marketing? And then what are those gaps? So I'm going to ask you to click on the link, and we're going to take 3 minutes, and I'm going to have you take this assessment. Congratulations, even if you're taking a little bit longer to complete it. I want to have some dialogue here. Why do you think I asked you guys to take the assessment? Can anybody guess? Why would I have you take an assessment in the middle of this?
I'll answer. I think there's two
please.
reasons. One, you wanted us to self-evaluate, like, what are the holes in my marketing plan? Like, what do I need to do? And also, I think you wanted to assess us to determine how you could help us.
Awesome. Ding, 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 ding. You went a trip to Hawaii, Beth. No, so it's, thank you, Beth. That was perfect. Anybody else have a thought? Like, I just want to throw it out there. What was that experience like for you to have to assess yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? So 1 meaning this doesn't describe me, and 10 meaning it does. Anybody else want to share what that experience was like?
I think it makes you aware of where the gaps are, because very few people think of all those items when they have their business. They think, oh, I have to make sales, I have to get customers, I have to have a content, but all the things that you brought up, they don't think about all of them.
Yeah, good, Gay. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, here's the deal, right? So we can't make improvements if we don't know where we're not on task. And so anybody else have anything to share? And then I want to kind of go on to a little training point, but anybody else have a takeaway or an aha, or I hate you, Jane, for making me look at that?
Jane, it was really comprehensive, and probably helps people understand that they need help and that they shouldn't expect themselves to be running all the shows all the time, and that it's marketing is a profession, and practitioners should probably not be doing their own marketing.
Yeah, can I get a hell yes for that? You're right, exactly. And we want to get the basics down. So here's what's interesting about this whole phenomenon. So I want you to so thank you first of all for playing with me and taking that, because awareness is the first step to powerful change, right? And so we don't feel guilty, we don't have regret, but there's no shame, no blame. It's just like, oh, wow, okay, this piece isn't in place. And so from that place of awareness, we can come and take some next steps. So that's one thing. The other thing I want you to do is right now for me, switch it. Imagine that you had an assessment that your potential clients could take. And imagine them going through the process of assessing where they are. Liz, Lynn. No, Lynn. So we have Lynn, who's a life coach. Where are you? Right? Yeah. So Lynn, so in our assessment software, we have what we call, I think it's a life balance assessment. So already it has a whole section. One section is on health and wellness. One section is on relationships. One section is on finance. And so you give your potential clients the opportunity to assess themselves on a scale of 1 to 10, where they are in these areas. We have someone doing parenting, right? So you can build out an assessment. And so if you imagine, if you go back and you think, I'm going to screen share really quickly. If you go back and you think about the assessment itself, I have too many things. Okay, here. So each of these pages represents what we call the realm of impact, right? So what are the realms, what are the areas of your client's life that you have an impact on? So here, we have growing my tribe. So that was more of the marketing part. But imagine you having a tool where you allow your prospects to go to this place of awareness. A couple of things happen. And Jody, you mentioned it, but I want to build upon that. There's a phenomenon that we've discovered in doing this for 5 years, and that's called assumed genius. So when I'm taking this, as if I imagine your client, potential client is taking it, and I'm assessing myself here, and not so much here, what happens subliminally is that the client, there's an assumed genius. I'm going to assume that if you're measuring this, you can support me in making this better. So not only do we take the potential client to a place of understanding where the gaps are and where they need help, at the very same time, we're positioning ourselves as the expert, as the solution. And you guys, what this does is it shortcuts the whole relationship development part. So if you can imagine in your marketing, we have all sorts of ways that we help our clients actually use the assessments in their marketing, whether it's a brand new lead or it's their existing list. What it does is it creates, and we talk about meaningful connections, it sparks a dialogue. Because now, if I were to go into our back office and I could see the responses from all of you, I have a window into where you are. And I can have a meaningful response to you. In fact, I'll take some time tomorrow and do that for some of you that I feel, I can support. But it's not about the selling process, it's about the connecting process. So this is how we take what's normally a virtual experience. This is how we take it to the next connection. Now, it might be the deeper dive, like what you took here was what we call our deep dive assessment. You can also just do a really quick 10 statements. So for some of you who are in the insurance world or the mortgage broker or the real estate, we have people who are using assessments. It's not quite so deep where there's different categories, but the idea is you want a tool that allows your prospects to get crystal clear about where they are in their process, and at the same time seed how it is that you can impact change. So I'm going to jump over to the PowerPoint, but any ahas for you guys? Anybody want to share like what their process is or how it might appeal or relate to their own business?
Jane, I have a question, and it's something I've asked doctors, is why do people think they're doing better than they actually are? And I went through this thinking about myself as someone who is not into marketing. And I started thinking, oh, there's a part of me, I'm lying to myself, thinking I've got it better than I do. So do you take that into consideration, that people will rate themselves better in their own mind, going, I've got this, and I'm just going to lie to myself, everything's fine?
Yeah, I will say there's a bit of that. And what happens, so what we teach in this process, people in all walks of life are using this in their sales process. What we teach, Jody, is in the sales conversation, we teach how to navigate the sales conversation using the results, right? So like, let's say you were to come on to a conversation with me and we were to look at your sales process. We would go through the assessment results and it just prompts the conversation. And usually if a person is, in delusion, they're delusional about how well they're doing, usually it comes out because what happens is the rapport is there. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel, understood. And so even if they might have scored themselves higher in these different areas, in the sales conversation, this real conversation about, okay, typically in the sales conversation, we look for a place they scored themselves high. So we look for 9s and 10s and we honor them and we celebrate that builds rapport. It makes them sort of kind of be relaxed. And then we say, okay, so let's look at some of the areas you scored yourself low, Jody. Well, so Jody, I see you scored yourself this or that. So it typically, even if they do score themselves a little bit higher, the purpose of this is to initiate a really honest and valuable exchange in that sales conversation. I can tell you guys, we can get people who are typically closing maybe 3 or 4 out of 10. We can get them to closing 8 and 9 because number one, I don't know if you guys noticed it, FYI, I don't know if you noticed the commitment score at the end. How many saw that? I asked you 3 questions and there was a commitment score. So what happens in the commitment score is literally, this is all information that goes into your CRM. And so what happens is you're able to decide who you want to connect with, right? If they're high committed, then you take them to the next step. So in this process, Jody, not only are you looking here, here's the commitment score. So I asked 3 questions. How committed are you to really finding out what's holding you back? How open are you to investing if you find the right solution? And how much do you value the opportunity to talk to someone? So like, just do a little brain tweak, you guys, for your own world. What happens here, and this is what really helped us, because Jackie was spending time with people who really had no interest in investing and really weren't ready for us. And so this helps you determine who is going to get my time. So I think, Jody, in your question, and anybody else has any questions other than that. So what I'm really inviting you guys into, first of all, and if there's someone on the call who says, I don't think, Jane, this doesn't feel like, I'll give you my email, which is just jane@janedeuber.com. I'm happy to talk to anybody. But the key here is for you to think about, in a virtual marketing era, how do you use technology to create more meaningful conversations? And I can tell you, countless stories myself and also our clients where, so imagine I take this, and so all of you now who've taken this are in my inbox, right? So I get copied on that response. And then I get to go in and look at those responses, and I get to have, a response so you feel seen and you see that I see you. And some of you, you were just kind of playing with it, which is all cool. Some of you might actually benefit from this, but I think that's really what the industry is needing right now, is for us to take it out of the virtual space and create these meaningful connections. And the only way we can do that is if we understand who's at the other end of the email. So that's the next evolution of marketing. That's what I wanted to come in and talk about. I think we have a little bit of time. So anybody have any thoughts, questions that I can answer just to support you in understanding this? Was this helpful?
Is this software that you sell, or is it something we lease, or how does that work?
Yeah, so actually, I'll put a link in that. So this is actually software that my husband and his company has developed, Jody. So it's Magpie is the software. And we have a 14-day free trial. So you go in, you play around with it. And it's free. It's daily office hours. We have our team that's standing by every day at 1:00 to help people and answer questions. And once you decide that if you want to use that longer term, it's anywhere between $19 a month up to $49 a month. It's basically a subscription. And yeah, you get lots of support, lots of strategies. There's 7 different ways. I'm going to go ahead and post that information in the chat. But was this helpful? Yes? Yeah?
No.
The process, it makes you think of everything almost like a business plan, but I also like your people, Jane. The people that you have in your company are amazing and very sweet. So Diane is amazing.
She is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gay. She loves me too. So yeah, just reach out to me personally. I'll put it in the chat, my email. But here's the thing. As a company, we're on a mission to humanize the sales process, and we're harnessing technology to do that. And I know that the clients that we have worked with have seen not just an increase in conversion, but also an increase in connection, which is really what business growth is all about.
Thank you, Jane. You were great. And is there anything you want to leave us with before we go on to the next thing?
No, just thank you so much, you guys. And my intention is to support you. I just put the link in there for the 14-day free trial. If you want to play around with it, the team is great, just helping you make sense of whether, how to put this to work in your business. And also just me, I'll put my email here too. I'm here. I'm here to support you. I adore you guys. Are all in my favorite tribe on the planet. So let me know if I can support you in any way.
And also you have a huge list of questions that are already there for companies. It's not that they have to think of their own questions.
Oh yeah, the statement. So yeah, you go in and there's 20 different templates depending on your niche. And so yeah, it's pretty, most people can create their first assessment and put it to work in their business in about 30 minutes. So it's not very complicated, promise.
Well, thank you.
And then you also said, Jane, that Deanne is on office hours? Is it every day at 1 p.m.?
Yeah, Deanne or Alex, you might actually talk to my not my husband, but my
Your
son.
son. Fun,
Yeah, every day
fun.
at 1 o'clock, everybody's standing by to support people. We're getting ready to like publicly launch the new software in September, but everybody, all hands on deck to support you guys if you're curious at all. There's a lot of you guys on this call that would be perfect for this.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so
Well,
much. I
thanks
really
again.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Jane.